Yes, we're here with another Weather Studio Live. I'm still not in that beginning intro. We need to edit that up to get some clips of me. You take a few months parental leave almost a year ago, and they forget
They
about
stick
you.
the newbie in.
You're in it more than... It's fine. I will get over it.
Let it go, Alex.
I don't think I'm even in the default thumbnail yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Hello, yes, I'm Alex Burkill, weather presenter, meteorologist here at the Met Office. Thank you so much for joining us for this Weather Studio Live this week. And my partner in crime...
I'm Anna Criswick, another meteorologist and presenter here at the Met Office.
That's generally how it works. We generally use presenter and meteorologist here to do the Weather Studio Live.
I'm not an intruder.
Thank you so much for joining us. There's a fair bit to talk about going ahead through this weekend and the run-up to Easter that we have coming up next week. The big talking point is the fact that our weather's changing.
It is.
It was never going to last forever. All the fine, sunny weather that most of us, not all of us, but most of us have had through the last, a couple of weeks, really.
I know, yeah.
Barely seen a cloud for a couple of weeks.
It's been so nice.
But yeah, couldn't last forever, and we are going to see a bit of a change. It's not going to be a drastic, huge storm or anything like that. No. It's just going to be different to what we've had recently. A bit more cloud, a bit of rain at times, and a fresher feel to things eventually as well. But we'll talk about that in depth. As always, do get your questions coming in. We will be looking at some of them. We've already had a number of questions already in the chat for today, and we have questions from last week's live, the deep dive that Anna did on Tuesday, so we'll be answering some of those. And as always, we will be having a quiz.
I'm a bit worried for this quiz because I did okay on your last quiz, but it was about the Formula One, and they were pretty much all guesses, weren't they?
Yeah, there are no questions about Formula One this week, apart from I will be asking you about the forecast for the Formula One this weekend because they are in Bahrain, so we may as well cover that as well. But have you heard, you've been on holiday recently?
I've been on holiday, yes. Holiday, I was going to say hollybobs. I have, I went to Iceland last week. It was really cool. We got there just as the volcano started to erupt again, the one that's quite close to the Blue Lagoon. So Blue Lagoon got cancelled for us on the first day, and we did actually feel one of the earthquakes. We didn't see the eruption, but we got quite close to one of the earthquakes, which was a little bit scary actually. But also, by the time we realised there was an earthquake, it stopped, so it wasn't like a major one. But yeah, we actually had, it was cold obviously, but we actually had quite good weather. It only rained a bit on the last day, and we had some snow. But I was a little bit jealous of the sunshine here, but I had it this week, so it's all good.
Exactly. It lasted for a little while yet.
Yes.
So that's
you
good.
had a week off as well?
I did have a week off, slightly different. I was moving house. Yeah. And the house that we've bought, it needs a bit of work.
Yeah. Time to get the hard hat on. Hard hat on,
yeah. So it's been a building site through much of this week. I think we can move in this weekend. So that's the plan. That's the plan. We have water, we have electricity. What more do we need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
We even have the internet. I know.
How
modern.
Goodness.
Right. A couple of questions then coming in. So I think I'll take the first one if that's right, Anna. So Richie earlier on asked a question about he said, a common saying that it's coldest just before dawn, and I noticed this happened this winter with the temperature dropped around 1 to 2 degrees. Why is this? Well, actually, the coldest part of the day is actually around 30, 45 minutes after sunrise, which may sound a bit counterintuitive, but you've got to think of it in as much as when it first comes up above the horizon, the sun's strength's not really got going yet, and so it's starting to warm things up, but really its influence is relatively small. And we're still losing heat because of, especially on a clear day, clear night, you're losing all that heat through radiation on a clear night. And so until the sun gets a little bit higher up above the horizon, the amount of heat we're gaining from the sun isn't more than the amount of heat we're losing through it being, night and all that. So there's a bit of a delay. So we continue to see our temperatures dropping for around 30 to 45 minutes after sunrise, usually. It's rule of thumb. There are many things that can change things. Cloud cover, wind speed, wind direction, general air, humidity, etc. Many factors at play. But generally, if you plot a temperature curve, the lowest point will be just a little bit after sunrise.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah. Makes sense.
A few other questions then. So should we look back at questions from your deep dive first?
We can do, yes.
Yeah, so Hearty Rose asked, would be great to know if it's safe enough now to plant my tomatoes out in the ground.
Oh yes, it's always a bit tricky, isn't it, this time of the year for the gardeners, because it starts to warm up, doesn't it, and then we get some frosty nights. But I don't know a lot about tomatoes. How much frost can they stand? Because it's probably going to be okay. But obviously this week we've had a little bit of rural frost, haven't we? But we're not going to, I don't think we're expecting a widespread hard frost, are we?
Yeah, it also I suppose depends where Hearty Rose is. If they're in the middle of the
Yes,
city,
that's true.
they should be fine.
Yeah.
If they're in a more rural spot, the sheltered glens of Scotland, it's probably going to be a bit chillier. Though we got more cloud coming in across Scotland through the next 24 hours, so
probably be okay.
Yeah, still
I
a
don't wanna
touch of
ruin your
frost
tomatoes.
in some prone spots, but not as bad.
I think tomatoes are okay. And my dad grew them once. We had loads.
Okay.
Which makes me think.
So there you go, Hearty Rose.
Quite, yeah.
Honor says you're okay.
Your tomatoes will be fine.
Great. Then a question from last week's live. Great stuff from Shed Life 1745. Great stuff. Here is a question. A local farmer I know in the southwest can predict the next season's weather based on the last season's performance and the effect it had on plant and wildlife. Example, lots of fruit on trees in autumn will indicate a hard winter. A very wet winter will result in a dry summer. Is there any truth to this?
Yeah, I did have a quick look at this. It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because I'm sure farmers do notice those weather patterns if they're farming year on year. They probably do notice it maybe a bit more than others. I had a quick look and I guess there's some truth to it probably. For example, I saw that if you've got lots of fruits growing on trees, that might be a response to kind of past tree stress from droughts, for example. So there could be some truth in that respect. But you've also got weather patterns such as El Nino, shifts in the jet stream, blocking high patterns. That kind of leads to seasonal variations, for example, wet season followed by a dry one or vice versa. So there's probably some truth in it, but I wouldn't know any specifics.
Yeah, I think there's an element of experience to it.
Yeah.
So there's often trends that can be seen, but yeah, exactly the science, questionable, I suppose.
Yeah.
We've had a question from Ems going on a trip. What is the temperature today in Lancaster? Because BBC says 20, Met Office says 21, Apple says 21, but on the Met Office hourly forecast, it only says 20. Now, that's a good point.
Yes, because it can be slightly different when you look at just apps, because that's normally raw model data. So we haven't had the chance to go in there and take a good look at the temperatures. Normally, when we do our presented forecasts, we've had a good discussion around temperatures, what the maximum temperature is going to be, because sometimes models, especially this week, our models have been a degree or two lower, haven't they? And that's the kind of raw model data that you're going to get on the apps. But actually, if you look at the meteorology and the kind of conditions that we're having through the day, normally it gets a couple degrees higher, at least locally it does. So it could potentially get up to, 23, possibly 24 locally today, but it might not necessarily come up like that on an app because the models are generally going for lower temperatures this week. But
yeah, and the other thing to bear in mind when you're looking at the app, the reason for the discrepancy between the maximum temperature for the day and the hourly temperatures is because if the maximum temperature is happening somewhere in the middle point between those two hourly periods that you're looking at, then it wouldn't quite capture it. So for example, if the temperature at 2 and 3 is 20 degrees, then that's what it will say. But if at 2:30 we're expecting temperatures to peak around 21, then that's why the maximum will come up. So that's why there can be some differences. Theoretically, the maximum should never be less than any of the hourly rates, or hourly temperatures. That's just logic.
yeah, that's a good question though, because lots of people use the app, don't they?
Yes. Right. Should we go over to the board then and start with some questions?
Should we go to the board? Are you coming with me?
No. But you did discover something exciting with the board today, didn't you? With the big screen?
I did. It moves up and down. So all this time I've been, after Aiden's probably the tallest, isn't he?
No, I'm way taller.
Really?
Yeah.
I think if you include Aiden's queef on his head. Yeah, so this board can move, that we've figured out today. Thank you, Greg, for that one. Shall we look at the story then? Look at the weather story of what's going on over the next few days. Because obviously here's the high pressure that's been giving us all the lovely settled conditions over the last few days for many of us. The kind of location of this area of high pressure is shifted about a little bit, hasn't it? So at times earlier in the week, it was slightly further north. So that was bringing in a bit of an easterly flow to North Sea coast, and that was bringing in some cloud. quite a lot of cloud across eastern areas. So where there was a fair amount of cloud, things weren't warming up as much. They weren't really seeing the sunshine. But eventually we saw a slight shift in our area of high pressure. It's moved its way towards the kind of southwest now. So we've seen a bit of a change to more of a westerly direction. So many areas, northeast Scotland, northeastern parts of England have seen much better days over the last couple of days. More sunshine, higher temperatures and generally better conditions. And across the board, really, especially today, temperatures are going to be a little bit warmer than they were yesterday. So it's going to be quite a decent afternoon. But a change is on its way, as we've already hinted at. So if I just draw this over to Saturday, go Saturday afternoon. So we can see that high pressure is now sinking its way southwards, and that's allowing kind of Atlantic mobility to take hold. We've got some more frontal systems moving their way in, so we're going to initially start to see a bit of a change across the southwest, Devon, Cornwall, parts of Wales, perhaps later some showers just moving into northwestern parts of England. But it's all because that high pressure's sunk its way southwards, and that's allowing some more systems to move their way in from the west. And we'll notice there's a slight shift in our jet stream as well. Initially, it's kind of quite far north, and that allowed the high pressure to build to the south of it. As we move further on into the week, we see that shift southwards. So that's kind of allowing the Azores high to build and allowing more low pressure systems to cross their way into the UK, which means an unsettled start to the new working week, and it's turning quite unsettled more or less for the second half of the week. And actually on Saturday, there's going to be quite lots of dry weather around, which I can show you here. Here we go. Oh, that's a bit late. Here we go. So let me just go to Saturday. I'll go to the afternoon. So we can see already, even on Saturday, it's probably going to be quite a chilly start. We're expecting fairly clear skies tonight, so a chilly start, perhaps some mist and fog patches, but all of that clearing quite quickly through the morning. And then still across eastern areas, lots of sunshine, lots of dry weather. This is probably where we're going to see the best of the brightness. And they're probably owed it, aren't they? Because they had a lot of cloud in the start of the week and those cooler temperatures. But notice that this is where we're going to start to see that change. So parts of the southwest, parts of Wales seeing more clouds, some showery outbreaks. A chance we could see some heavy showers, very isolated risk of some thunderstorms, particularly in the morning, but any kind of thunder risk easing away into the afternoon. But just a very isolated risk there, and perhaps starting to see a bit more cloud start to edge its way into western parts of Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland later into the evening. Kind of see this system into the evening overnight through into Sunday, kind of pushing its way up, if I'm not too much in the way. So if we go to Sunday morning, we can see the kind of bulk of that system's moved its way eastwards, but that kind of leaves quite a showery regime behind it, and that's kind of where a cold front's kind of moving through as well, so bringing in some cooler temperatures. But even on Sunday, once that initial kind of band moves through, there's still probably going to be a lot of kind of sunnier spells, but there's still more and more showers feeding their way in from the west as well, and they're probably going to become quite widespread as we head into Monday. So it's not going to be all doom and gloom over the weekend. There'll still be lots of dry weather, lots of warm weather, particularly on Saturday, but more showers are on their way, and they're gradually going to feed in more and more from the west. So do you have a question, or should I talk about temperatures?
Let's keep talking about temperatures. I have many questions.
Many questions. Oh, okay.
But let's keep going.
All right,
I'll
go on to temperatures and I'll answer some questions. But you can see, this is shown quite clearly here. You can see just from the colour scales already that things are cooling away as we head into Sunday and Monday. But temperatures are actually returning more towards average for the time of year. It's not going to be particularly cold, but obviously over the last couple of weeks it's been fairly warm in the sunniest spells. So even today, obviously this is kind of showing highs around 21, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get a local 23 or 24 where that sunshine sticks around. Even tomorrow, still picking up highs of 22 degrees. So once again in the dry, in the sunshine, particularly across the east, it's still going to feel quite pleasant. But then eventually we're seeing that change. Eastern parts of Scotland, for example, going from kind of 19 to 15 to 10. We'll see that drop in temperatures through the week. We're pretty much across the board by the time we get to kind of Sunday and Monday. We're more looking at mid to low teens maybe, compared to low 20s. So it was going to feel kind of different. And obviously it's going to be a bit wetter in places as well. So that's also going to make it feel like a bit of a change. Yes. Any questions?
Yeah, a couple of questions. So coming back off your deep dive, Karen X7S9P asks, will we see thunderstorms?
Oh, yes. I think I did spot that question, actually. So there's a little bit of a risk. I think it's first thing as this system moves through. It's kind of early Saturday, isn't it? any specific area? Well, I can tell you actually anyway, because it's going to be more across the southwest. So Devon, Cornwall, southern parts of Wales, there's a very isolated risk. You might get the odd heavier shower, and that could bring some hail and some thunder. But otherwise, first thing on Saturday, it's mainly just going to be probably moderate showers, I suppose, as they start to drift their way in. Later in the week, or earlier next week, there's a chance we could start to see some quite heavy showers, so a risk we could see cumulonimbus clouds, and with that we would see a risk of kind of hail and thunder. But at the moment, any details in regards to where that will be, I can't give you them. But definitely a risk first thing across the southwest. But they're going to be really isolated. It's not going to be like a thundery plume or anything like that. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's good news from most people's point of view. Quick look slightly further afield. Roscoe Bosco's asked, they're off to Prague on Sunday for 4 nights. What's the weather looking like over there?
Prague on Sunday. Very nice. I've not been to Prague, have you?
No.
I'd quite like to go. My sister went once. So, if I go over here and press this, I'll eventually get used to this, this touch screen. Is this the right one?
Yeah.
So whereabouts? It's about here, isn't it? Prague?
A bit further east, I think.
Oh yeah, is it more over this way?
Yes.
I'm not 100%. I was hoping it was going to come up. I know it's around here somewhere, I think, but I'm not totally sure. From Sunday. And obviously this is global model data as well, so it's gonna look maybe a bit more dramatic than it actually is.
It's kind of in between Berlin and Vienna.
Okay, but yeah, so around there. I was kind of right? So here we go then. So obviously, yeah, as I say, this is global model data, so this is looking like quite a lot of rain, but it's probably just going to be a few showers. But from Sunday afternoon, it's kind of looking okay, but I don't know if this system's... Oh, this wherever that rain's coming from, looks like it eases away through onto Monday. So possibly a risk of showers, particularly towards the end, Sunday. Yeah, so maybe Tuesday and Wednesday there's a chance you could see some showers, but initially it looks mostly dry, to be honest. Let's have a look at temperatures. Oh, okay, it's going to be fairly warm. Did they say Sunday? So 18 to... Oh, that's slightly too early. So it looks like low 20s. Not too chilly overnight. Yeah, it's probably going to be quite nice, actually. Oh, the temperatures are kind of dropping away. That's probably with the poorer weather coming in. But yeah, it actually looks fairly decent. Perhaps the odd shower towards the end of your trip. And then things cooling off. But actually, it probably looks not too bad. Largely dry, low 20s. Probably going to be better than here. Yeah.
We've had lots of questions coming in on the chat, and we will get to these. But first, whilst you're over at the screen, a couple of other things. So the pollen forecast, we have some very high levels at the moment, don't we?
We do, yes. Pollen has actually been increasing, particularly this week because of the weather. It's actually tree pollen at the moment, so not as many people suffer from tree pollen. What was it? About 25% of hay fever sufferers, did you say?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 25%. Yeah. So most people suffer from grass pollen, if you suffer from hay fever, that is. I think it's about 80-90% grass pollen, but tree pollen's around 25%.
Okay, yeah, so it's still tree, but I think it's ash and birch pollen at the moment. So it's still tree pollen levels, which have been quite high this week. And I have seen some comments. People have noticed it, particularly after my deep dive, because I mentioned a bit about pollen then. But yeah, even today, the kind of pollen levels are they're very high in some places. We can see from here across a large portion of the kind of... Oh, no data. There's no pollen there. Yeah, across a large portion of England and Wales, you can see, look, everywhere I'm pressing pretty much is very high. I don't think it's really till we get to northern areas. It's still high, but maybe not quite as high. Moderate here. Oh, and then low across the very far north of Scotland. So I think I've clicked on most places there. There we go. So you can see across a lot of England and Wales, pollen levels this week are going to be fairly high. Tree pollen, not as many people do suffer, but still 25% is a good chunk. As we head into Saturday, it looks fairly similar, moderate to high. And then it's as we head into Sunday, obviously you've got that poorer weather coming in. It tends to kind of rain out the kind of pollen levels in the air. So this is where we're going to see a bulk of the rain on Sunday, all those showers. So pollen levels are dropping away, but even across the southeast, they're still remaining fairly high. So if you are a sufferer, there's still going to be plenty of pollen around. And then moving into Monday, once again, it increases to very high across central and southeastern parts, but still remains low across Scotland, Northern Ireland. It does drop down to moderate too across parts of Wales and the southwest. And I think it does. It looks like it pretty much remains quite high still across quite a large portion of England and Wales, and it starts to creep back up again across Scotland. So if you are a hay fever sufferer, particularly for tree pollen, I'm afraid to say, the levels are high. They're dropping off a little bit with the poorer weather, but they're still fairly high even as we head into the middle part of next week.
Yeah, along with pollen, one other issue that we've seen through recent days with the fine settled weather that we've had recently has been wildfires.
That is true.
Why have we had a significant amount of wildfires through the last week or so?
Well, we had quite a lot of rain initially, didn't we? It wasn't too long ago we were seeing a fair amount of rain, so we had quite a lot of vegetation.
At the start of winter in
growing.
particular was
yeah,
really wet.
The start of winter, so that means, we've had quite a good growing season, lots of vegetation, and all of a sudden we've had high pressure, sunshine, things have dried out, which many of us think, oh yeah, sunshine, this is great, but actually with the increase of vegetation and things drying out, it doesn't take a lot, does it, to spark off some kind of fuel source across that vegetation, and then as soon as you get a little fire going, that tends to spread. And we have had an issue of wildfires across Wales. I think it's been this week, hasn't it? So obviously it's easy to say, oh no, the weather's changing, the sunshine's going and it's raining, but actually it's probably a good thing for many areas who have not had a lot of rain recently, and it obviously will help. I think the wildfire's still going in Wales. I'm not actually 100% sure.
I'm not too sure, but fortunately the wetter weather
is definitely going to help, and it's moving into those kind of regions as well across Wales where we've seen the wildfires. So rain isn't always a bad thing. It is. It's good in that respect.
For sure, yeah, and lots of farmers would agree with some decent rain.
Good for growing tomatoes, bit of rain.
Yeah. Then we've had another question come in. I think it was from Ghosted, asked a couple of times. I think some people have answered it in the chat already, but he wanted to know what app we're using on the big screen behind you here. But it's not an app, is it?
No. This is model data that we use. So we actually use this. For the pollen specifically,
no,
everything?
For the whole weather thing.
So this
Visual
is
Cortex.
Yeah. So this is actually when we show the kind of UK, we can kind of show here. This is more of our kind of UK model, our UKV model that we use day to day on our weather forecast. But as we expand out and go into more global areas, we use our global model. So this is the same graphics that we use when we present our weather forecasts every day. They're not just pretty pictures, it is actually model data that gets updated through the day as well. But sometimes we make little tweaks, don't we, like we were saying earlier, we make tweaks to the temperatures. What I'm showing here, I haven't made any tweaks, but when we do our presented forecast, we do.
But one of our colleagues upstairs may have done.
On the temperatures?
Not on the temperatures, but on the cloud.
Yes. Yeah, we do have a media team we have our chief meteorologists who will kind of guide us on what kind of model modifications to make. For example, just a random example, perhaps this system was moving a little bit slower, so our team, on our media team, they'd maybe push this rain and this cloud a bit back if other models that we use at the Met Office were kind of giving more of an indication that system was going to be a bit slower, but perhaps our global model was a bit faster, so then we'd slow down that cloud and rain. So we do make modifications, because obviously at the Met Office we use loads of different models and we use loads of different model runs as well, so always making tweaks to try and make sure it's the best forecast possible. But yes, so this is just our kind of, it's all our Met Office data, so global data, and then we use a slightly higher resolution model for more kind of closely knit UK model fields. But yes, good question.
Yeah, then I think we've got time for one more question before I invite you back to the table for the quiz.
Oh, goody.
And Em's going on a trip again, has asked, why is it milder near the sea at winter, but colder near the sea at summer?
Why is it milder? Milder near the sea in winter. So obviously, when you're in a kind of coastline location, your temperatures can be influenced quite a lot by the sea. So obviously, in winter, in respect to the land, the sea is relative to the land. The sea is obviously going to be slightly warmer, but in summer, the sea, in regards to the land, is going to be slightly cooler than the land, because obviously the land heats up quicker in the summer, and it takes a lot longer for the sea's kind of temperatures to change. So that's why in summer, for example, particularly if you get a bit of a sea breeze, for example, it might just be that slightly bit cooler. But yeah, that's pretty much why.
Yeah, the sea takes longer to change temperature than the land does.
It's much bigger volume, isn't it?
There's that delay, which is also why like sea surface temperatures are kind of at their lowest early spring.
Yeah.
So they've started to warm up, and equally they're at their warmest like early autumn. So that's the best time to go for some sea swimming.
For a dip.
Yeah.
Is that when you go?
Sure. Yeah. Right, would you like to do the quiz?
I'd love to do the quiz.
Now, as we've already discussed, we've had a lot of dry, sunny weather through the last couple of weeks, but things are going to take a bit of a wetter turn as we go through this weekend and into next week. So I thought the theme for this week's quiz could be about rain, just to brace ourselves, get ready for the change. Now, initially, as always, I was going to make this multiple choice, but you said something that wasn't very nice about me just before we came on air. So I'm not going to give you any options for the quiz today. In fact, I've just made all the questions way, way harder. Like, only joking, you will have options.
I was only joking. I'm not mean, I promise.
So, question one. The next 3 months are actually the driest months on average. But which of the next three is the wettest? So I'm including April. So out of April, May and June, on average, which is the wettest month for the UK?
Right. Do you know, I'm not 100% sure, but I assume it would be April.
You can assume that. So
That makes sense in my brain.
We have the poll, but I can only see some of it. Hold on. I can only see what people are saying for May.
April, May and June.
Why is that happening? I can see 55% have said May, but I can't see what people have put for April and June. Oh,
Well,
it's
loads of
going
people
down
are
to
saying
40.
May.
Can you see the total options?
Oh, I can only see May.
Oh, weird.
I've got my teams over it.
You have to click on the poll. Thank you. Oh, yeah, there you go. Thank you. So 36% have said April, 50% saying May. So June is losing at the moment, which is very interesting.
Oh, maybe it's May. I was just thinking April showers, but maybe May. I guess we could still potentially be quite showery in May.
Yeah.
Things start to warm up.
Yeah. I will double check that I looked this up right. So question 2. Which language has the most number of words for rain? And the options are A, English, B, Cantonese, and C, Hawaiian.
That is a good question.
Yeah, so which language has the most number of words for rain?
God, that's a really good question. I'm really intrigued to know what the answer to that is.
Oh, you're going to find out. Do not worry. We should have a poll coming up.
Say the options again.
A, English,
Yeah.
B, Cantonese, and C, Hawaiian.
Because for rain, because for us, it's just, what is it? Does that include like rain and then wet, downpour? Do you mean that, or just specific words for rain? Because we also say showers and things like that.
I don't know. I think it includes like showers, drizzle,
Okay.
like anything like that.
Okay, because I don't know, do we have that many ranges? I feel like it's not us. And then, surely Hawaii wouldn't be talking about rain that much. I'm going to go, well, I don't really know, so I'm just going to go Cantonese. But I have no idea. Maybe it's us, but I don't know. We normally use the same words for rain, which is why I'm thinking not us. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, there's my
Good
logic.
luck.
No idea.
Question 3. Which song says the word rain or raining? I've included, so rain, raining, anything like that.
Okay.
Which song says the word rain the most times out of the following?
Ooh, okay.
Why Does It Always Rain on Me by Travis, Umbrella by Rihanna, and Here Comes the Rain by the Eurythmics.
Are you going to sing us some of the songs so we know what you're talking about?
No.
That's no fun.
That is no fun, but people's eardrums would prefer it.
Because I know the Rihanna one, pretty much word for word.
I'll just sing it.
Because she always goes, it's raining, raining. So she's already saying that twice.
Yeah.
Got to remind myself
just
what the other
straight from the
songs
beginning.
were.
So A, Why Does It Always Rain on Me by Travis. B, Umbrella by Rihanna. And C, Here Comes the Rain by the Eurythmics.
I'm not sure if I know what that third one is. I'd probably recognise it if it was
Yeah,
sung
you'd
to me.
recognise. It's one of those songs that you'd recognise.
I'm going to go with Rihanna. Because she goes...
Let's have a look.
I can imagine that bit goes on for a while. Oh, but you said any kind of... Oh.
Yeah, rain, raining, anything like that. Basically, I just typed in find for the word rain.
Oh,
in the
really?
lyrics.
In the lyrics?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. I like that question.
Oh, yeah, we've been told off we can't sing too much for copyright issues.
Oh, sorry. I was out of tune anyway. They won't recognise it.
Most people saying the Eurythmics, so that's quite interesting.
Well, that's not fair. I didn't know what... Well, I think I'd probably recognise it.
Okay,
but I couldn't
question
think of it in my
4.
brain.
Which film has the highest score or higher score on IMDb? So the Internet Movie Database. Remember, the higher the score, the better the film, theoretically. So
Yep.
A, Singing in the Rain. B,
Be high.
Rain Man. And C, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the movie.
Really scraping the barrel there.
I'm scraping it a little bit, but we got there. It still says rain in it. So the options again: Singing in the Rain, Rain Man, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
That is
which has the
hard.
highest score on IMDb? They both the ratings are similar on Rotten Tomatoes as well.
I feel like it's got to be Singing in the Rain. That is a classic, isn't it?
It is a classic. Have you seen Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the movie, though?
No. Is it good?
I've
Is
not
it your
seen
favourite?
I've not seen it either.
Singing in the Rain. That's what my... It's a classic.
Yeah. Go with your
Oh,
gut.
these are good questions, Alex. I'm enjoying this one.
Good,
Much
great.
better than your last
Now
quiz.
we move away from the thanks. We move away from the rain theme for the final question. But
Okay.
out of the following 3 people, whose birthday is not on the 15th of April, which is next Tuesday?
Okay.
So A, Leonardo da Vinci, B, Daniel Radcliffe, and C, me.
I know it's your birthday on 15th because you said it in your 10-day trend, didn't you?
I did. You knew it anyway, didn't you? So
Oh, yeah,
whose
I already
birthday-
knew.
So whose birthday is not
Isn't.
on the 15th of April?
Say it again, sorry.
Leonardo da Vinci, Daniel Radcliffe, and me.
No idea. Daniel Radcliffe, Leonardo da Vinci. Oh, that is a tricky one. It's just going to have to guess, aren't I? I'm going to go...
Well, it's only 50-50, really.
Yeah, true.
I'm giving you a good steer.
I'm going to go with Danny Rad.
Great.
No idea.
Well done. You've actually done quite well.
Have
So
I?
after a shaky start, you've done a lot better.
I brought it
during
back.
the second. You brought it back. You brought it back. So just to look at the poll, and the most people have the answer right as well in this one. Still 4%, despite what we said, saying that it's not my birthday next Tuesday, but it is. I can assure you.
Set it on the
Well,
10-day trend, you guys.
Yeah, come on. Need to pay attention. Right, should we go through the answers?
Yes.
Fab. So, question 1, which of the next 3 months, including this month, is wettest on average, going on the 1991 to 2020 average out of April, May and June? The answer is actually June.
Is it? Because of all
kind
the showers?
Yeah,
you
I guess
get.
when in June, in the summer months, when it rains, it rains.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so,
That's
and I mean,
true.
if we look at this April, it's been like ridiculously dry.
Yeah.
So April and May are actually pretty close to being the driest months of the year.
Oh, okay.
Which
Oh,
actually
yeah, I
surprised
wasn't
me a
gonna
little
go.
bit.
I
haven't looked
suddenly
into it.
thought, oh, maybe it's May, but actually June makes sense.
Yeah, so
I
June-
got thrown off by April showers.
So yeah, these are the 3 driest months of the year, and April and May are the drier too. Great. So no points for that one for you. I'm sure loads of
0.
other people got it right. Question 2, which language has the most number of words for rain out of English, Cantonese and Hawaiian? And you said
Cantonese.
it's actually Hawaiian.
Really?
Yeah, they have over 200 words.
No.
Yeah, mind-blowing. That's why I put it in the quiz, because it's interesting.
That is really, interesting. I want to know
Yeah.
what all those words are.
Me too. I don't have them all.
Oh,
And I'm
not
not
going to list them off.
No, maybe next week.
Okay.
Maybe that will, or not next week. We'll come on to that later. But next time we'll have to see how many of those 200 plus words we can name. So question 3. This is when things start to get better for you. So which song says the word rain most times out of Why Does It Always Rain on Me by Travis, Umbrella by Rihanna, and Here Comes the Rain by the Eurythmics? And I'm pretty sure in my maths that it was...
Rihanna.
It was Rihanna, yeah. Umbrella.
I knew it, because that bit, she goes on for a while, that little melody.
Yeah. She says
I sang and I won't sing again.
I think she says it 19 times.
Damn.
Whereas Travis say it 12 and the Eurythmics say it 10. Interestingly, I was going to include It's Raining Men by the Weather Girls in this, but they say it 48 times.
Wow.
So I felt like that was just too obvious.
Yeah, I
so
think I would
we
have
left
gone
that
for
one.
that.
Yeah, 48 times. That's a lot.
that.
Second to last question. Which film has a higher score on IMDb? Singing in the Rain, Rain Man, or Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the movie? And you put...
I put Singing in the Rain.
Correct,
Yeah,
yes.
I knew it. I was like, that can't not be it.
On IMDb, it has a score of 8.3, but on Rotten Tomatoes, it actually has 100.
Really?
Yeah. So it is, like you say, a classic. Rain Man's got 88, so not bad.
Still pretty good,
Really
yeah.
good view. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer doesn't have a rating on Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is a bit harsh, and has 5.9 on IMDb.
I think when it doesn't have a rating, it's 0.
It's not quite 0. I don't think it's like, the worst film ever. I think it's, entertaining for kids. Is that the song? Did Destiny's Child do the song for that one?
Oh, maybe.
And it's quite catchy. I think that's on my Christmas playlist, but I don't think I've seen the film. Anyway, last question. Out of the following, whose birthday is not on the 15th of April next Tuesday? A, Leonardo da Vinci, B, Daniel Radcliffe, and C, me. And you put?
I put Daniel Radcliffe.
Quite right, yes. Leonardo da Vinci was born on the 15th of April, as was I. Emma Watson was also born on the 15th of April, so she shares her birthday with me. Isn't she lucky? But Daniel Radcliffe...
Sure she knows.
Yeah, I'm sure she does. Yeah, we send each other birthday cards every year. And we write on each other's wall on Facebook and stuff,
I love that.
So we do all that. So well done, Honor. You got 3 out of 5, which is not bad at all. My mum got 4 when I tested the questions on her.
Oh, okay.
She obviously has a slight advantage because she was there when I was born, so
Yeah.
she knew that one. But so did you. But yeah.
Once again, the actual weather question I did get wrong. This happened last time.
Is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer not a weather enough question for
you? You got away with it.
you? Gordon, you got 4 out of 5. Well done. Gwyndaf Parry, you got 5 out of 5.
Oh, okay.
Good work. Lots of people getting 2s and 3s, which is nothing to be ashamed of. So
that was a really good quiz. That's my
Thanks.
favourite quiz that I've done. Really enjoyed. I really enjoyed it. I just thought those answers are really interesting.
Good.
Well done.
There we go.
Good
I
quiz
tried.
writing skills.
So a couple of things before we have to go. We've had a few more questions coming in. One person asked, so we talk about the fact that we're now on WhatsApp,
We are.
but how do you actually reach out to it, or how do you get our content through WhatsApp?
It's a little bit confusing, I think, because if you go on WhatsApp, you open it up and it's got your chats and settings and everything at the bottom, and it says updates. But when I first saw that, I thought it was like app updates. But actually, if you click on updates, there's loads of things that you can subscribe to, but the only one you want to subscribe to is obviously the Met Office. So I think you can, if you scroll up a little bit, you can type in Met Office, and there we are. And we put all sorts of things on there, don't we? We put our videos on there, we put some of other content, sometimes satellite images or little pressure sequences to show if there's a change on its way, and sometimes we do voice notes. You'd get to hear our voices talk about the weather and without having to look at our face. That's probably the better option sometimes. But yes, that's how you do it. And if you haven't already, do check it out. Make sure to give us a follow because it's pretty good actually. I've been quite enjoying watching the Met Office on WhatsApp. And we're also on Spotify. We're everywhere. You can't get rid of us. So yeah, that's how you do it on WhatsApp. So yeah, go ahead and do it.
A couple more weather questions just to cover it because people have been throwing them our way. Lots of people still asking about frosts, and there is the potential for some frost through the next few nights. We've had some rural frosts recently, and there will still be some. As our weather changes to become a bit more changeable through the weekend and into next week, we're probably going to see fewer frosts. So although the daytime temperatures are coming down, the overnight temperatures are staying the same, perhaps coming up a little bit, because there won't be the clear clear, calm nights that we've had through this week, which is what we need in order for them to be a frost. So the most prone spots, you couldn't rule out a touch of frost for a little while yet. In fact, I think tonight prone spots will see a touch of frost, but kind of thereafter frost becomes less likely, which is good news for many people who are asking about their gardens. Another question, when is the next dry period coming after this unsettled spell that we're entering?
Ooh,
and that's a good question.
That is a good question.
Because last week, well, at the beginning of the week, we were talking about it coming in time for the Easter weekend. But now it looks like that shift back to high pressure and more settled weather.
I can show you quickly if you like.
Yeah, go for it. Let's go back to the screen for the last little bit.
I have prepared a little graph because yes, we've been talking about this this kind of wetter spell being quite brief, but actually later model runs keep pushing it further and further back. So initially, I think even on Tuesday when I did my deep dive, we had more of these. So these red colours are indicating high pressure associated with the UK, so often something more settled, and the blue colours are low pressure, so something more unsettled. And we can see this is today, so we've got the red colour, so the high pressure still clinging on, and then we see more and more of these blue colours over the weekend and into next week. Now, on Tuesday, when I did my deep dive, the latest model runs, which is the one at the top, these are previous model runs as you move your way down, we had more of these red colours kind of starting to move in for Friday, Saturday, Easter, Sunday. But actually the percentage numbers were quite low. So it was, I even said in my deep dive, it's still a little bit of a question mark as to when the kind of settled period is going to move in. But you can see this quite good diagonal line as we've had more recent model runs, as we move our way up. This kind of bluer colour is stretching more into the future. We're seeing less of these reds, or they're actually pushing into the middle part of next week. But even here, 23rd, 24th of April, the actual percentages are still quite low. So it's probably still going to be a bit of a question mark as to when the a really settled period starts to move through. So at the moment, it's looking like the kind of more unsettled weather, the rain, the showers, potentially some cooler temperatures still clinging on even as we head into Easter weekend, I'm afraid. But yes, it's been quite interesting kind of watching it through this week because initially we've kind of thought it was just going to be a brief wetter spell, but actually it looks like it's going to be perhaps slightly a bit more prolonged.
Yeah, it's fair to say, I mean, we kind of call this the 6 to 10 day ridge, and as much as the signs of high pressure coming or returning looks likely when you look around 6 to 10 days in the future, but it always stays around 6 to 10 days. Every day it gets shifted further
back,
along. And so this pattern that you've shown with the diagonal line actually happens relatively frequently, which is a bit of a shame. It teases us, gets us excited, and then in reality the prolonged settle spell compresses and becomes less prolonged because there were signs, like you say on Tuesday, of it coming fine in time for Easter weekend and staying fine through much of the second half of April. Whether or not that now happens, big question marks. But we will update you as we go through. Obviously, next week we will have another deep dive. We'll have another 10-day trend. The one thing we probably won't have though is Weather Studio Live next week. It is Good Friday next Friday, so we're not going to be here. We may, if the weather becomes very unsettled for some reason, it's not likely at the moment, but if it becomes very unsettled, we may do a special one on Thursday. Honor and me will be around, but chances are we won't need to because whilst there's some changeable weather in the forecast, it doesn't look like it should be that impactful. So chances are there's going to be a 2-week break. It's only if something drastic happens with the weather that we will come out on Thursday instead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry in advance.
Thank you, Honor, for your lovely explanations today. It's been a blast as always. Thank you to everyone who's been sending in your questions and has participated in the quiz. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this week. And like I said, it's going to be most likely a little 2-week break until we're back. I don't know. It will probably be us, won't it, again, I imagine?
I think it is us, yeah.
Yeah, us, but I think we're swapping places. So I think
thank goodness.
You'll be quizzing me. But have a wonderful weekend, whatever you're up to. And I hope you're not too disappointed that the weather's going to take a bit of a turn. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.